Excuse me. Good morning. McDoggos, McPuppers. What's up, puppers, McDoggos? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Don't you know Derpy's looking at me? Doobadoo. Skibbity. Always so crazy that it looks like doesn't do very well sound-wise on this fucking microphone. And yet I got this thing turned all the way up, and yet it still looks like half the time it's not. Skibbity. 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 Skibbity toilet. Well, hopefully it's doing well. Let's see. Oobadoo. Oop, oop. Holy fuck, it's also super delayed. Jeez. Well. Of course, it's going to pick up every cough and everything perfectly, but God forbid we talk into it normally. The thing is, though, I don't want to talk crazy loud, because then upstairs everybody get fucking child hears it and he comes running.
Right now, here's Ryan Jesperson.
Real talkers, we have there's no other way to put it.
Whoops.
No other way to put it. We have a force of nature in studio with us today here at the historic Mercer Warehouse. I've been looking forward to this interview for a long time with journalist Brandy Morin. And we're going to be talking about Alberta separation and treaty rights. This is a conversation, should be an obvious one. And this is, I think, some important points that are going to be made today that should be front and center in any conversation about an Alberta sovereignty movement. But you don't always see it. Brandy's been doing...
Don't always see it? We barely see it, bro.
Work by way of her Substack, Indigenous Insider. We're going to link to that in the show notes so you can check it out. We'll be referencing it a whole bunch over the next, 30, 40 minutes. We're also going to get into the work that Brandy's been doing internationally. She's covering the plight of many Indigenous communities, including in Central South America, that have been impacted by resource extraction, including Canadian companies. I think a wake-up call coming on this episode.
Shocker.
About an hour into this episode, that's as soon as she's available, the mayor of Grand Prairie is going to join us as well. Her worship, Jackie Clayton. You know, Grand Prairie is bringing back photo radar. They've been doing policing. They've been doing law enforcement a little bit differently in Grand Prairie. You remember that?
I'm actually okay with that, honestly, God. I get it. People make mistakes when you're, like, driving, and that's, there's things you can do to mitigate those tickets. But, boy, people fucking drive like crazy. They drive like crazy without the fucking photo radar. Holy shit. They are fucking bonkers.
They bid adieu to the RCMP a short time ago. Grand Prairie rolling out its own police service. I know other Alberta communities have been watching this with interest to see how it's going. Well, Grand Prairie is taking back photo radar as well. Curious to see what the thinking behind that, the impetus behind it, and the early thoughts on the move back, the city taking over photo radar. You have to wonder if Well, if municipal governments in other parts of the province, maybe other parts of Canada, will be watching that as well. You remember here in Alberta, the province, the provincial government, taking photo radar revenue away from the cities, and that's been a big story, maybe flying under the radar. Lots happening in the news cycle right now. So about 60 minutes into this episode, Jackie Clayton, Mayor of Grand Prairie, and then we'll wrap up with a flamethrower. I'm going to need waters and throat lozenges to get through this one because a lot of you have a lot to say about, starting with our July 20th interview with U.S. Ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, as well. Some feedback on that. And we've also heard from Michaela Resists. You remember Michaela Resists, the Fuck Your Fascist Pancakes, right? The author of that which became a meme. She heard her interaction with the premier being discussed on this show, and she has a response. I'm going to keep it out of the flamethrower. I just want to read it straight up without rock and roll vibes behind it. And you can always, as always, let us know what you think. We'll be dipping into our live chat today, powered by Park Power. If you're listening to this later, we always encourage you to send the show an email. You can always get us at talk@ryanjesperson.com. Brandy Morin coming up in 30 seconds. Before we get there, want to let you know this episode is presented by our friends at Hanson Distillery. This is Edmonton's original distillery. You want to talk about OGs in the province of Alberta? You can start with Hanson Distillery. They're rooted in prairie grit and a rebellious spirit. Hanson's known for authentic small batch whiskeys, vodka, gin, moonshine, unique liqueurs crafted right here with local Alberta ingredients. And every bottle tells a story of passion and heritage and hands-on craftsmanship. You can browse their selection. You can shop by.
Okay, we always give like marijuana a little bit of shit for the way that it teases about how they describe, a fucking sativa, it'll get you, it'll make you feel this way, and you're gonna do this with the fucking indica and shit like this. It's funny that we do the exact same thing with alcohol. Every bottle is crafted with fucking passion and love, and it's like, okay, it's just alcohol, bro.
Across Canada at hansondistillery.com. You can
like everything's crafted with passion and love when it comes to kind of food services at times.
Always visit their distillery and their tasting.
My Arizona iced tea was crafted with love.
174th Street, 111th Avenue, just north of Mercedes-Benz, Edmonton West. Let them know that.
Well, fuck, I might as well pick up a Mercedes-Benz then.
Local, always original, made right here. As we officially welcome to the Real Talk studio here in the historic Mercer Warehouse and our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West, journalist Brandy Morin. Welcome back.
Tanse, thank you for having me, Ryan. It's good to see you.
It's been way too long. We've been reading your work and checking out what you've been doing at indigenousinsider.substack.com, and we've been corresponding back and forth, but it's been impossible to get you in here because you've been spending all your time in the Amazon.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes. Going back very soon, too.
Yeah, amazing. We'll talk more about that. I want to talk about your work in South America, Ecuador, Bolivia, Panama. You've been all over the place.
Jeez, traveling.
The conversation about Alberta separation, and I know that this is one you've been writing about a lot, and it's been focusing a lot on Ottawa, right? And the economy and the politics behind it all. But obviously there's a more fundamental question that a lot of people, including separatists and I mean, arguably the Alberta government, still hasn't addressed, and that is treaties and the rights of First Nations.
Shockers. Well,
Yes.
I mean, before she gets into it, let me, as a white man, fucking explain here. They don't give a shit about that. You think they give a fuck? They don't give a fuck. Separatists care about the treaties? Nah, bro. They don't even care about the laws that are still governing Alberta being a part of Canada. They don't give a fuck. Why would Danielle Smith give a fuck? She knows she's just gonna get to do whatever the fuck she wants. So I mean, that's the real scary part. But we'll see.
So what it comes down to is bare minimum facts. Alberta was established after Canada was established. So this province would not exist without First Nations and the existence of treaty. Alberta cannot separate. It can't even entertain the question of separation without the consent of First Nations.
So you've been, I think, working to keep this on people's radar. You've been obviously speaking directly with chiefs and reflecting this reality. How would you characterize the level of awareness or the knowledge of the average Albertan around, the treaty rights and what those implications are.
Yeah,
Zero.
I think that
It's
this
not
has been
there.
an opportunity for Albertans to be educated on treaties. I think that many of us didn't grow up learning the true history about the treaties. That
No,
they
we'll
are
have to go
actually
through them at some point.
covenants, and to our people, they are spiritual, sacred covenants. People that are a part of the separatist movement or uneducated tend to have this belief that the treaties are a thing of the past and that they don't apply to today. But in fact, they very much do apply to today. They are. They could not exist. Alberta could not exist without the existence of these agreements.
And so your central premise is basically that the province can't.
Listen, not to be the not to be the cunt in the room, but that's sometimes with some of these things, like the things we do with law and societal norms and things like that, only works if everybody kind of agrees that it works, right? The law only really works because everybody agrees that there's an enforcement system for that law, right? If you wrote down a law on paper and nobody followed it, it'd be just as good as that law not existing, right? The law not existing would be the situation would be the exact same. When she says, well, Alberta couldn't exist without the treaties, she's true in the sense of as long as you respect how it is that land was before and how it's come to be now, that's technically true, right? Because the treaties were used to create Alberta. But if you're somebody who doesn't respect the treaties or doesn't respect Alberta was formed, to you, that's technically not true. Because it's just like, man, we'll just get rid of the treaties. Alberta will exist anyways. It'll just be a province. Who cares, right? So what she's saying is true in and of itself, as long as only you respect like the treaties and the way that Alberta was formed. So
Separate without First Nations. What's like when we get to like the legal basis, and we don't need to get into the weeds.
Yeah.
I'll recognize you're a journalist, not a lawyer, but the strongest legal basis for the argument in layperson's terms is what?
The legal is that they were not. That First Nations did not consent. This has been decided twice by two judges within Alberta that you can't separate land.
well, I mean, the biggest thing is basically you're backing out of what is essentially a business deal, a strong business deal that you've set up to be like, hey, we're gonna make this territory, we're gonna make this space. It's part of the treaties, but in order for that deal to change, in order for Alberta to separate, you would need you need people that come forth that have signed those treaties. And it seems to be that the treaties themselves are in perpetuity between two parties, whether or not the existing original parties that signed it exist, right? Like, let's say your grandfather signed a business deal with somebody, and that business deal was just meant to continue on throughout the family. Like, as long as there was a bloodline that had signed this deal, that deal would just continue in perpetuity. That's kind of what's happening with the treaties, right? And the strongest legal argument is like, hang on, these treaties have been signed, they exist, there's certain rights surrounding them. You can't just go and, ignore the business deal essentially that's been signed and do whatever you want. You need to discuss it with your business partners about what you're going to do. And if your business partners aren't willing, you either need to find a way to, satisfy the business disagreement or not do the thing you're trying to do.
Which is known as crown land here in Alberta, but is Indigenous territories.
So have you've been speaking directly with chiefs, and you've reflected that in your reporting. You have a piece just out a couple of days ago, by the way. First Nations have beaten separatists before. Here's the playbook, and we'll get into that in a moment. Would you describe the perspective of Treaty 6, 7, 8? I mean, is it a collective
6, 7? 6, 7?
Solidarity? Have there been outlying perspectives? What have you encountered firsthand?
Yes, I mean, what I've heard from chiefs and leadership is that this is the most united topic that they have ever stood together in. And the thing that you have to understand is, these different treaties in Alberta, Treaty 6, spills over into Saskatchewan, Treaty 8, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia. If Alberta were to separate, it would dissect all of these territories, which our people have rights to, have rights to access for hunting, fishing, and sustenance. There are so many different complications, and it's the fact that these agreements are with the Crown and not with Alberta. There's a lot of rhetoric out there where you see these different comments online that First Nations are going to be better off with a sovereign Alberta. We will make new agreements with them. We will take care of all of these discrepancies, all of these grievances that they have with Ottawa. That's
Yeah, right.
First Nations to decide.
Yeah, right.
Chief Mercredi of Treaty 8 Grand Chief, he said, you know what? Yes, we have our issues with Ottawa. We have long-standing issues.
Audio?
But we're gonna
Misspeak?
deal with them. We'll deal with it.
Do you think that it needs to be stated or clarified the difference between treaty territory and reserve land?
Yes. So, I mean, these reserves were set out, when Confederation happened, when colonialism, made its way across our territories. And then there is the traditional territories. So the traditional territories that, our people were promised that we would still have access to. To hunt and to fish and to be able to sustain ourselves. The reserves are these boundaries where our people are, where they live and where they conduct business.
Yeah, like to me, the reason why I ask is it just strikes me that some people, and maybe it's based on some of the emails we get, that I think some people are under the impression, people supporting separation, people believing that you can kind of rewrite the rules or tear up agreements, that reserves are what we're talking about when we're talking about treaties. And, you'll oftentimes hear like mayors, or you'll hear it during land acknowledgements or what have you, and people will say we are all treaty people, right? Edmonton, like right now, we're gathering on Treaty 6 territory. This is not an urban reserve. We're not, within the boundaries of a reserve right now, but this is treaty land. This is treaty territory. And it just strikes me that some people haven't differentiated or maybe, if we're being honest, like don't actually know the difference.
Yeah, I really want to note that.
Before she explains the difference, let me see if I can. So a treated land would be land that basically, hey, we're giving you, as in Canadians, access to. As part of an agreement that you're going to basically give us something in return. But when you're done using the land and basically the business deal is concluded, you're going to give the land back because it's just like it's basically an exchange. For the time being, okay, we're going to let you use this land that we had. We're going to have areas of it that's for ourselves. And then when you're done with the land in question, we're going to come back and basically make use of it as we want to see fit. Now, that's not exactly how it's worked in the past. Back in really not that long ago, the reserves were seen as a place to basically put First Nations people so that they weren't quote unquote interacting with society, which is pretty fucked up, honestly. There's a lot of fucked up shit regarding the reserves and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of what the idea has been behind acknowledging the land treaties is like, hey, while reserves exist and you're on this land now, keep in mind that this is part of like an agreement that's been made between parties, and you are just kind of like getting the privilege or the access to the land now, but that could be revoked at some point if the treaties, quote unquote, change.
When these treaties were signed, a lot of people, again, out there, they continue to spout this rhetoric that the lands were ceded and surrendered. And from the perspective of First Nations, this was not the case. When these treaties were signed, a lot of our people didn't understand the language. A lot of these agreements were made, orally. And it has held up in court that these terms our people didn't even understand, cede or surrender, that these agreements were made to share the land and the resources together.
From my understanding, too, there is a lot of laws governing like business interactions when things are done on like good faith and of good faith and you have to have sorry, I lost the train of thought that I had. But basically, in Canada, when you're like oral business deals are just as good as written business deals in Canada. Like they're seen as the exact same. They carry the same kind of weight type deal. And there are certain laws like kind of governing how those business deals can move forward. I know in Canada too, at least in Alberta, you can't sell something for $0. Like if it's like, oh, I'll sell you my car for cheap. I sold it to you for free. You can give it away, but that's a different thing. But if you sell something, there has to be some kind of transaction. It has to be and I think it has to be at least worth $1. Type deal. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that the oral part of the treaties have been held up in court, because that's just part of our thing. Is oral agreements are just as good as written.
So when we're talking about reserved traditional territories, we, as part of treaty, we are still supposed to be in this partnership of sharing the lands and the resources.
You used to work for Danielle Smith.
Yeah.
Like way back in the day. You were her speechwriter, right? Back in the Wild Rose Party days, right? What was that? I hate to teach both of us, but that was like...
I mean, it was
contend for your sins.
No, 2014.
Oh, 2014. Okay, not too long ago.
Yeah,
I take that back. 12. Well, almost 13. Anyway, I digress. You've written a lot about how she and her government have handled this. I want to talk about your piece from back in June. They're ready to arrest chiefs, which was a really powerful piece. Again, if you're just joining our live stream presented by California,
whoa,
we're talking to...
You can't just hammer over the fact that she was Danielle Smith's fucking writer and then just not. You better fucking touch on that more, Jefferson. What the fuck? Come on, change direction.
Brandy Morin, an award-winning independent journalist. You can check out indigenousinsider.substack.com. Before we get into sort of the specifics and her take on the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act and the like, just how are you wrapping your mind around what you're seeing from now Premier Smith? How does maybe her approach differ from what you knew of her, 10, 12, 15 years ago?
Yeah, so I just want to share a little bit about how I got to working with her. So at the time I was in between jobs. I was doing some freelancing and I was a single mom. I seen this ad for an executive assistant to her executive assistant. At the time, I really need to point out that I was very green to politics. I was a community reporter. I had, briefly covered community politics. But at the time, I viewed Danielle Smith as this incredible, strong, smart, powerful woman. So
I have to ask, were you on drugs at the time? I've never seen Danielle Smith through that fucking lens. She has always come across as absolutely one of the most idiotic fucking politicians. And I say idiotic in the sense, like, when I use that term, I'm not saying that she's fucking, like, drooling and, like, it's like, hello, Danielle Smith, can you put two sentences together? And she's like, I like Alberta oil. That's not what I mean when I say idiot. I mean specifically somebody who knows better and does it anyways. That's an idiot to me. Is somebody that knows better and does it anyways. That's what Danielle Smith has always been. She knows better than the Alberta separatism, but she does it anyways. She knows better than to, fuck with a lot of the healthcare shit, but she does it anyways. She knows better than to fuck with all the educational things, but she does it anyways. Because Danielle Smith is a fucking idiot and would rather put all of her own interests first than give a fuck about Albertans. That's always how she's been. It's always how it's come across. I'm just surprised that other people have not seen it that way.
I had minimal, experience as a legal assistant and as a journalist. I interviewed and they hired me. And I started working with her executive assistant. Soon into it, they learned that I was Indigenous and that I also was a writer on the side. And at that time, Danielle Smith held the portfolio of Indigenous Relations Minister of the opposition. And they asked me if I wanted to start helping her with that. I said, of course. And so I started to, write some of her speeches and organize.
Oh shit, you're First Nations. We need one of those.
Communities across Alberta. One of the times when my perspective on Danielle Smith changed So she had attended the Truth and Reconciliation Commission witness hearings in Edmonton with me. At the time, she seemed so passionate about getting this relationship right with Indigenous peoples. I was asked to write a speech to sum up the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's visit at that time. I wrote this speech for her. In the Alberta legislature, she read it out in her statement, and she lost it. And she, started crying a couple of times as she was recounting the experience of one of the survivors. And I remember watching that, and I was so proud of her. And later on in the day, I bumped into her in the hallway on the way home from work, or to go home. And I said, "Hey, how do you feel?" And she kind of sighed, and she was upset. She said, "Yeah, well, I screwed up." She goes, "I broke." She was pissed off that she had cried, that she had, exposed that emotional or human side of her.
Man, is there somewhere? I just don't believe that Daniel Smith cried. I just don't. It's 2 years ago. That's Jasper. She gets emotional during an E. coli outbreak that sickens hundreds. Yeah, I just... Yeah, I don't know. I totally disagree that she might have cried, but I don't think it was real tears. She's crying for other things too. Why are you crying during an E. coli? Same thing. She cried during the Jasper thing apparently, but then told people that the feds they'd have to wait for their fucking money. So the feds would get them. No money for them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't buy it.
And I was in such shock and disappointment. After that, I ended up leaving a few months later due to a number of things. I was being policed in my coverage that I was doing on the side with my writing on Indigenous nations. But I'm grateful for that experience because it helped me have a look inside the workings of politics. And I honestly, Ryan, seen a dog-eat-dog world.
Oh, it's nuts.
Everybody was out to get everybody. They weren't even in there doing the work that they were elected to do.
Yeah.
It was very dirty. So, but I got that look.
I think it always has been. It always will be, to be honest with you. I'm not trying to.
I know, but like I say, I was green
it,
and I was naive. So I needed that.
crazy.
I needed that wake-up call.
Yeah, sure.
So all of these years later, okay, and I've been telling Indigenous stories exclusively now for 15 years and doing it full time since after I left. When she got elected as the premier, and just watching the relationship deteriorate, between her and the First Nations in this province. Like it's been disappointing. It's been,
Wouldn't that assume that she had a relationship to begin with?
Like it is complete.
Like, no offense, just because she was the minister and she cried at a fucking speech doesn't mean she had some like great connection or relationship with the First Nations people. Like, okay. I don't know about that one. I think the unfortunate thing is you might have had like a perception of her, but I don't think that perception was ever true. I think the unfortunate part is like the Wild Rose is really good at, and they were, and they are like, let's face it, the UCP is just the Wild Rose rebranded. That is the fact, and those people were fucking crazy. They were. There's a reason the Wild Rose didn't get elected in Alberta until, they changed their fucking name, which is really funny because there's actually legislation in place that you can't change your name into a conservative name. It has to be something different. Because I said the NDP would be really well served to change their names to the new Conservative Party of Alberta. The NCP, because it'd be ahead of the United Conservative Party of Canada, and they would win every fucking election, every single fucking time.
Completely broken.
So,
I'm curious to know, and not that I think it's not on people's radar, some of the more high-profile breakdowns as you're describing them. But what is it that has broken that relationship specifically? And when you say
racism,
like, I'm curious to know if you think it could be fixed, if it could be repaired. I would like to think so. I'd be curious what would be the driving force behind it or the motivation behind it. But what do you think broke the relationship?
I mean, I think that it's been deteriorating for a while, but it's the separation, this whole separation conflict. And people are, just hearing about it, this year and the last few months, but this has been going on for the last couple of years. I mean, the Chiefs have been already speaking out about it. In press conferences, Danielle Smith will say, yeah, like we engage with them. We talk to them, on a regular basis. And the Chiefs, the leaders that I speak to, say they haven't heard from her.
Of course.
The relationship is very...
Anybody shocked? I'm not shocked. You shocked? I'm not shocked. Not at all.
Themselves have called for her to be investigated for treason because of...
Based alert.
Of moving forward with this referendum question and, appearing like she is, supporting separatism.
Appearing?
A bit of correspondence, and
she absolutely is supporting.
To reference it, this is a letter from the RCMP commissioner, right? Addressed on July 17th, so just a few days ago.
Remember what happened with when all the fucking voter roll shit was leaked? Anything happened about that? Nope, don't think so. Anything like where's any information on that? Where's the RCMP up? Maybe that's what he's about to read, is the RCMP update on that, but that shit's pretty fucked. Fucking voter roll shit. It's pretty crazy that after that shit leaked, that the separatists had that shit, that their petition was allowed to go through anyways. That's fucking wild. That's pretty fucking crazy. They should have to verify that every fucking signature, all the people that signed it should have to fucking show up somewhere and fucking verify that that's their signature. That person doesn't show up, they did not sign it, and that was some bullshit. So, I don't know, man.
Address to Grand Chief.
I can tell you right now, if the Forever Canada had that shit come out where they had voter rolls and signatures, and then all of a sudden, miraculously, they hit their fucking target, holy shit, those fucking separatists would be fucking jerking themselves off with the 24/7 news story about how Forever Canada was trying to fucking take Albertans' fucking rights or voice away from them by doing shit like that. Holy shit, you fucking better believe it. But nope, not in this instance.
Joey Pete, Chief Ellery Starlight, Chief Troy Knowlton, and Grand Chief Trevor McCready. For those listening on the podcast in particular that can't see what Johnny's showing us on the screen right now, this is for YouTube. You can read it yourself. But the general premise of this is what? Why is the RC?
Dear Chiefs, thank you for your correspondence of June 17th, 2026, providing a copy of the resolution R0326-0616, adopted by the Assembly of Treaty Chiefs of Treaty Number 6, Treaty Number 7, and Treaty Number 8. Following receipt of your resolution, the matter was forwarded to the appropriate operational investigational areas to determine whether the information provided meets the criteria necessary to initiate a criminal investigation. Should the threshold for a formal criminal investigation be met, any investigative step taken would then proceed through an objective manner consistent with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Force (RCMP) policy. While the RCMP is unable to comment further at this time, we will continue to engage with the parameters of our mandate and legal obligations as appropriate. Please rest assured the RCMP is committed to building trusting relationships with First Nations Canada, including sustaining honest and open dialogue. Well, yeah, okay. It's a nice way of putting, yeah, we ain't gonna do shit about it. Shut the fuck up, don't ask again.
RCMP interacting with these grand chiefs, these chiefs?
Yeah, so in June, the Assembly of Treaty Chiefs of Alberta passed a resolution asking for Danielle Smith to be investigated for treason by the RCMP and the Auditor General of Canada regarding, her possible dealings with U.S. officials in regards to these.
Getting money from
illegality,
American fucking places for separation stuff. Yep.
Violating treaty rights.
Yep.
And just a couple of days ago, the RCMP Commissioner of Canada officially responded to the chiefs and said that they are currently looking into whether to open an investigation.
I'm not, like, it's not my role or job to say where this would go or wouldn't go, and obviously I'm not a police officer or an investigator. I wouldn't be, I don't.
I wouldn't be holding my breath. Nope.
That she's going to be hauled before a court for treason on this, but
She should be, but she's not going to be.
Why do you think that this is so significant?
I mean, it is the only time that I know of that any Indigenous leaders have called for an accusation of treason against a provincial or government leader. So it's highly, highly significant. I mean, that just in itself, sets this precedent, sets the table for how damaged these relationships really are, and how the trust has been completely eroded.
The Premier has said that the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act would be enforced if chiefs block roads or infrastructure. You wrote about this back second week of June. People can read about it on your Substack. Why do you think that was such a consequential statement from the Premier? Take us into this idea. Your headline: they're ready to arrest.
Basically, you ain't gonna be able to do shit about it. So
can you imagine? You have these sovereign leaders who have rights, who have territories, and they are planning to assert their rights. They are planning to do whatever that they have to do to stop.
and the government's already telling you don't fucking do it because we're gonna basically quash it.
So they said, okay, well, that might include blocking highways or infrastructure. When you think about it, that is also treaty territory. In response, Smith said, yeah, okay, well, we have this critical infrastructure defense act, which was created, by the way, to oppress mostly Indigenous land defenders across this country. And she said, yeah, we'll implement it. So these
do it, bitch. We'll pull the Trump card. And not fucking lose a Trump, but just a royal card.
This time, I took them pretty seriously. There's treaty chiefs up in Treaty 8, which Grand Chief McCurdy, is the leadership over. Those highways block the engine that runs this country. In Fort McMurray, the oil sands, there has been talk of them taking action there. Yeah, it's a big deal, but can you imagine the chaos that would break up if these chiefs were on the line and being hauled away in that situation, being arrested? But it also, you also have to think about the relationship between the RCMP and First Nations. And this is one of the arguments that the First Nations used when they wanted, Danielle Smith investigated for treason, because the RCMP have committed to protect First Nations and their rights. Would it be the RCMP out there arresting chiefs should, they decide to enforce this Critical Defense Act?
Yeah, the optics are.
Would be, yeah.
And I would personally, just as an observer, be very concerned about that heating up. In particular, if you get almost that standoff between First Nations and separatists. That are motivated and in some cases I think looking for conflict, for conflict and for attention.
Definitely looking for conflict. You remember when they were blocking the road? Was it in Coots? And they had all the fucking ammunition and guns and shit like that. These separatist people are fucking thirsty for conflict. I don't know what is driving people to want to go and fight and kill their fellow statespeople, but holy shit, people are fucking thirsty for fucking violence nowadays. And it's not even, here's the crazy part, is it's not even a general consensus that is thirsty for violence. There's a very special subsection of society that is ready to slay their fellow statesmen for reasons that realistically would not affect their life if they disappeared. Like, your economic output isn't going to get better because Alberta separates. It's just not. Because there's opportunities for you now that people aren't engaging with. Like, one of the really frustrating parts is to hear people be like, oh, so economically fucked right now. It's really fucking hard. Can't find work. And then it's like, and then I go and I look and it's like, oh, do you guys have truck drivers enough for this? Well, no, we don't. Okay, well, fuck. Okay, well, there's a spot people could work. We're like, oh, well, do you have enough, like, enough concrete finishers, enough carpenters, enough? Well, no. And it's like, well, okay, well, this is where people could work. And it's like, well, do you have enough, do you have enough laborers? Well, no, we could use more. And it's like, well, everywhere I go, I constantly hear, we have a labor shortage. We need more people. We need more people. But then our unemployment's at what, almost 7% here? What is it in Alberta? It must be close to 7% now. Alberta unemployment rate. Fuck, I'm good. Fuck, I'm good. 7% right now. Fuck, I'm good. Yes. 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 Fucking good. So fucking good. That's 7%. Where the fuck? Like, even if you were to say, let's keep that frictional unemployment rate. Okay? Frictional unemployment of 5%. What's Alberta's working population size? Okay. So there's about, what would that be? 200. So there's 287,000 people. Or sorry, 287,000 employable people. 2,878,500 people employable. But only 2,677% of them. So if let's subtract those two numbers. Let's do a little math. I know, cringe math first thing in the morning. 100 minus 2677. So that's still 200,000 people that are unemployed, and we want to keep 5%. Yeah, we want another. We'd want to keep. Well, if it's 100. That'll be a quarter. 2, 4, 6, 8. So we'll call it a quarter. So it's 25%. So 201, 200 times 0.25. Oh, hang on. This is why it's important to write down your math. Yeah, 50,000 people. Okay. Yeah, quarter of that 201,000 people that aren't working is 50,000. So that's 50,000 people that you could have doing shit. Like, who are these people? What are they doing? What are these 50,000 people doing? Is it mainly old people? Like, what is it that's causing this to go up, and where are the people? Because we need the reality is we need good, and maybe it's just we need good, competent people, and the people that we could employ just aren't very good. But
I mean, these are conflicts that have been brewing long before separation.
Oh,
Ryan. Yeah. I mean, some people are, even comparing what could go down, could be like the Oka crisis or other situations, other standoffs that we have seen in this country that didn't end up very good, where violence ensued. And I really want to point out, I actually made a post about a month ago, and I said, look, personally, I'm very concerned about this separatist movement, because these people that I'm seeing involved, the conversations that are happening online, and the violence and the threats. I mean, the Blackfoot Confederacy, they released a official notice to their members with steps to how to care for themselves due to threats of violence and racism. And I think that the people that are behind these separatist movements, they will do anything they can to make it happen. If it
Yep.
doesn't happen legally, I think that they will
They're just gonna
continue
do it
to
anyways.
push.
Yep.
And I think ultimately this could end very badly, and that violence could erupt. And even if, everything kind of,
Chills
fades
out.
out,
Yep.
that the damage is going to be already done.
Yep.
The damage is of what it's being created. And like I said, we have these divides, okay? These divides that have always been there. I used to think, oh, we're getting somewhere with truth and reconciliation, and it's gone backwards.
Yeah.
It's gone backwards. But I think these guys have always been there.
Yep.
They're just more emboldened
They're more
to say
vocal.
what they really think.
Yeah, they're more emboldened because they feel like, well, at this point too, they feel like they have nothing left to lose, right? Oh, my fucking country's gone. I'm fucking losing everything. Oh my god. And the problem is too, is it seems to be like a lot of older people who, man, the biggest thing, fuck, fucking old people, because it's gonna happen with our generation too. Okay, it's coming for millennials. It is. Because if you don't deal with your fucking problems, you know what happens when you don't deal with your fucking problems and you get old? You still don't take responsibility. So what do? You seek for somebody else to take responsibility for your fucking problems. And what ends up happening is you look around, you go, fuck, couldn't have been me. It must be somebody else caused these problems. Oh, I didn't deal with my stuff. I didn't save for retirement things. Like, oh, must have been the immigrants coming in to take all my fucking jobs. Like that is literally what ends up happening. And that's such an easy narrative to sell to people because they don't have to take accountability. You're right. It wasn't me. It wasn't anything I did. It was everybody else's fucking fault that I no longer, that I can't look after myself or I can't pay or things are really expensive. It's everybody else's fault. It can't possibly be mine. I can't be, responsible for the way that things are because I tried to get that through in the comment section of YouTube. It was probably to a fucking bot anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. But, to somebody that's like, well, no, they go, oh, the fucking liberals, right? It's like, excuse you. You are also to blame for the way that things are in Canada. It isn't just a one side. It isn't just, we're a fucking collective. We're a country. It's everybody's fault to some degree. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? There is no, that's why fucking Jesus, my homeboy, he said, ye without sin, fucking cast the first stone, bitch. Because he knew that nobody would be able to throw that first fucking stone because everybody's got fucking sin, man. And that's why Jesus picked up the biggest fucking boulder he could and threw it at her because he was without sin. Okay? What a fucking goat. I'm just kidding. Even Jesus, he had no fucking sin. And yet he didn't throw the stone because he knew it was, even if you're without sin, don't fucking throw the stone because it's not the right thing to fucking do. But that you'll never get that out of people, especially in like regards to separation, because they want to throw the first stone. They believe that if they do this thing, life will be better. Life will be, life will be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again. Hello, hello, hello. But it won't. Because it won't actually fix anything. Because every solution that you come up with causes more problems at times. It causes not even more problems, but different problems. And realistically, let's say it was even true that separation was going to fix one problem, it's just going to cause 10 more somewhere else. It just is, because there's other issues that you're then going to have to deal with, but there's no recognition on that.
Oh, yeah. Lately, absolutely.
What do you mean?
Well, in so many ways. I mean, we have the residential school denial, movement happening, the denial and the rhetoric around our children's grave sites. We have just
Listen, I'm all for believing that the residential schools did some fucked up shit. But I think the grave ones need a little more evidence for that one. Like the mass graves part of it. Did kids die and they buried them out back? Yeah, probably. That would not surprise me at all. But in mass style Holocaust graves, man, I don't fucking know. I think the unfortunate, the really uncomfortable reality is a lot of these kids probably didn't stick around. There was no way for them to get home. And they left and hopefully either started lives elsewhere that were half decent, or they unfortunately just didn't make it home and died somewhere else. I think that's probably the really sad reality. I don't think, I don't know. Because that we haven't really seen anything else out of the mass graves portion. Like I hate to say it, I really do, but I think we need a little more out of that one. So the residential schools did fucked up shit. You're fucking damn rights they did. Holy fuck, were those things absolutely fucked up. But fucked up and mass graves? I don't know, man. It's just doesn't seem to be the evidence for that, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, unfortunately, whichever way you want to fucking look at it.
You were to look online around these conversations, the racism is incredible. They're vile. I get threats. Chiefs get threats, from these people. And the thing about it is, the people that are out there doing this, like, they're coming from a place of complete ignorance. This is where we talk about what the treaties are, what they mean. People have no idea. It's ugly. It's scary, and people, are emboldened like never before.
Brandy Morin, our guest in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. You suggest that there's a double standard between the Coots blockade happening right around the time of the Ottawa occupation, the Freedom Convoy, everybody remembers, and potential Indigenous protests.
Yep.
Take us into that.
I mean, look how long it took for the Alberta government and the RCMP to move in on the Coots blockade. Like, as if they weren't blocking major infrastructure, they were blocking
the border.
Exactly. But this hasn't even started yet, and the threats are coming out. That's everything in itself.
O'Cheese is in our live chat, powered by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider. O'Cheese says nobody knows of the RCMP not arresting Treaty 8 chiefs last year for their blockade up north.
Mm-hmm.
Says everybody knows that infrastructure runs through Indigenous communities. You were there?
Yeah, I covered that blockade. I did a little documentary on it with the Woodland Cree.
Where can people watch your documentaries, by the way?
Wow, they're spread out, but most of them are on YouTube if you search Brandy Morin. But yeah, it got really close to the police moving in. I was there, and the police had set up a little base a few kilometers away, and they had been visiting the site. There was a couple helicopters that went over the site, but the company was able to make a deal with the First Nation, with Woodland Cree, before it escalated to that.
There's so much to get to here, and I want to get. We've got a lot of comments here from Real Talkers that are chiming in here in our live chat. Eric says the Infrastructure Act also played a part in the Coots blockade. He says, I don't buy that it's targeting First Nations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, critics would say that the Premier's basically just promising to enforce the law equally, right? Mm-hmm. What would you say? How is this situation different? What would you say to Eric?
Okay, so the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act was created almost immediately after the Wet'suwet'en uprisings, where there was a coastal GasLink pipeline being plowed through their territories, and we've seen that over a few years the RCMP going and arresting them. The other blockades with the Trans Mountain Pipeline. These were created, the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act was created during those blockades when railways.
Yeah, hang on. Was that act used during the Coots? Yes, the Alberta's Critical Infrastructure Defense Act was used to charge at least one high-profile individual linked to the Coots border blockade, though initial enforcement faced heavy criticism and questions regarding its delayed application. So there we have delayed application, and then we have a situation that hasn't even happened yet. And Daniel Smith's like, we're going to fucking use it. We're going to fucking use it. So, like... So a street preacher was charged with it because he was giving a speech that incited protesters at the Coots blockade. Initial hesitation for the first week and a half of the 2022 blockade. Police and provincial leaders faced public scrutiny and accusations of double standard because the act was not initially deployed to clear the highway or ticket participants. The officials citing operational complexities and logistics like tow truck shortages. Yeah, okay. So it's not being applied equally, but okay. I guess we can believe that if you want.
Being blockaded in Alberta as well. So yes, it does come from a place of Indigenous land defense. But I mean, it was the first thing on her mind when she was asked to respond to the chiefs saying that they're going to, enact civil disobedience.
Matthew says, of course, the province would invoke that act for Indigenous protests, but not a border blockade. Pongi says, the way I see it, there are 3 countries in Canada. We're merged. We all have rights, but the first ones here must have their rights respected as laid out in the treaties.
I mean, I think we should all have our rights. I mean, these treaties are like a
New Game Plus. Oh my God.
Between the nations.
By the way, Pongi goes on to say, I absolutely love Brandy's neck adornment.
Oh, it's from the Amazon.
Let me ask you. She says, Pongi says, forgive me for not knowing what it's called. It appears ceremonial. What is it?
No, it's just it's a beautiful necklace from the Amazon.
Okay.
It's not necessarily ceremonial.
What side of the Amazon are you in?
Well, shit. Only made it 28 minutes through the video, but we completed the fucking game. Crazy. Game about chopping trees. You know what's funny is I have another game about kind of chopping trees. But it's different. It's the same, but different. It's the same, but different. Oh, look at that. Look at our little autism podcast thing we don't use anymore. What a bunch of losers. Oh my God, look at that. It's still not the same size. Oh my God. Oh, good times. Alrighty. Well, we'll maybe catch you guys tomorrow.